based on Julie's recommendation, we got through two component parts last time, and she thought maybe if we stayed on track and did two, if we broke into groups, but maybe if it's just five, what are people's thoughts? Should we just maybe look at one and see what we can get done, or do you want to try breaking up into a group of two and three? I mean, what are people's thoughts?
Let's just pluck over it just as a whole group. If there's five of us, and maybe we can get one done and maybe move on to a second one.
Okay, did that work for people?
Yeah.
Okay. Because the next one on the list was student achievement. So I am unable to call up the Google Doc, so I don't know if somebody can do that, or I don't know. Julie made some changes. Maybe Karen, you did too when we were making.
Yeah, it was a shared document. So
Do you want me to put the link for the document in the chat?
Maybe I can get it that way, because I can't, with the WebEx on this laptop, I can't split my screen and call up the Google Doc. So maybe if I try that. Okay. All right, so let's see if no.
It did work that way. So I'm on my phone, so I have to do it really funky too. So, but I'm going to stay in, but look it over.
Okay, so come on. No.
can you open it on your screen, Ann?
I sort of have it cobbed up now. I can't seem, and I don't know, it's probably just that I'm not sure how to work it, but if I call up the document, I lose, you can still hear me, but I can't see the WebEx meeting anymore. So I had to go back into the app in order to call the meeting back up. Although I could still hear you, I couldn't see you until I went. So I still have, I'm able to, well, let's see.
So if you click, I think, on the share button on the bottom, it should give you that option. You should be able to open that doc, and then we'll be along the top of the screen.
It's grayed out. I can't use it.
Let me see if
I
I
have no
can do
ability.
it. Let me see if I
The
can do it.
share,
Probably only the host can.
Yeah,
What's
if
that?
you can't, Karen, I can. So,
You see
Okay.
it?
yep.
all right, now I can see it, yeah.
Okay. We're all there, so.
Okay. Oh, there you are.
So we did the first one, we did the second one, so today was supposed to be this one, the student achievement, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I really like the layout of the other two. I think they look really good. It looks like Julie kept the original bullet points at the end of the statement that group came up with, just so that we have it as a reference point. Is that right?
Well, I
Yeah,
think that the bullets.
Go ahead.
No, I think the bullet points that's how we're going to move forward.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was kind of like the overall, this is what we want to do. These are some of the things we're going to do to make that happen. I think that's kind of the overall feel for those.
Awesome. Awesome. I like it. Okay.
So student achievement. So we want to kind of do the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to be our Karen? You want to be our?
I'll type.
Okay.
Where am I? So at this point, we need to come up with what this is going to be, like our overall statement for student achievement. Like, what's our overall goal here, reading through these things? What is it? What are we trying to say?
Dr. Glover, could you make it a little bit bigger?
I can see if I can. Karen's got control of it because she's the presenter.
How's that?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
So I was trying, after the last time, I was trying to think, just, I'm more of a big picture person. Before I can get into the small details, and like the different sections we have here, some of them kind of overlap. So I was having trouble kind of seeing how, I don't know what I'm trying to say, like making a section out of each of those. I know my group, we had kind of talked about what we wanted to say for the curriculum and instruction, and we had talked about providing like the tools and resources and things like that, and we thought that probably would go more in the introduction and be applicable to all the different sections. But then I went back to the initial document of defining equity to kind of see how that might roll into this, to then get a bigger picture of how all these different sections might fit together. But like student achievement kind of goes along with what we were talking about with curriculum and instruction a little bit, and then the school environment kind of goes along with everything. And I don't know, I don't know how other people view everything. Like if you want to look at one section and kind of get a summary of that and then go back and look to see how everything fits together, or if we want to get a better idea of how we want to break everything down. And then
I kind of like your first idea, the Kristen, is just kind of like coming up with something for each section and then seeing how those sections can combine for like a general statement. And then these are kind of like bullet points as part of our plan. Because I do like having curriculum be different than student achievement. And I do like school environment being different because you still are, what's on the walls are going to be school environment. There's going to be specific things that we're going to decide are kind of pinpointed for a school environment versus like a student achievement or curriculum. Like I still see them a little bit different, but I see what you're saying. Like they all together, they would blend into a very sound definition of equity, or what our main points would be. And then I like kind of how we're doing combining these and kind of coming up with some kind of general statement in each of these areas. But I see what you're saying. Some of it does.
yeah, so if you scroll back up, I don't know if Dr. Garber, you're controlling the screen. Like the very first statement, understanding of equity begins with working towards the school culture. Like I feel like that was also in our definition, and then when we go to the school environment, it's going to be the same thing. So I guess I'm trying to see how it all fits together. If I don't know what I'm exactly trying to say. I just feel like there's a lot of overlapping, so I don't know if it'd be good to get a outline, or if we just want to summarize each section and then go back and look at it to see how they cross over and then get an outline. I don't know.
I like the idea of summarizing each section and then generating an outline, because then we can definitely see where some of them overlap and combine.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I just didn't know if other people were kind of struggling, kind of seeing the big picture overall, or if other people even think the same way as I do.
Well, it is somewhat artificial to have, these little boxes that we're dealing with, because you are right, it's a cohesive uh, piece of fabric. I mean, we're weaving all the pieces, and we have one piece when we finish. So it is difficult to break it out, but it does help, at least from my perspective, to have some structure for talking about the different component parts. Just so that we make sure that in talking about one, if there's something, that we need to add, or, we're just making sure that we're stressing those important component parts. Because for me, when I look at it, the curriculum is the material that you use, the achievement is the outcome that you receive with the students. So it would be something that you would measure differently, and you would have different criteria for. So even though the achievement is related to the curriculum, because you use the curriculum to drive the achievement. So yeah, they are interrelated, but for me, whoops.
Am I calling you, Ann?
You are.
Yeah, hi, I'm Magic. I can tell because the phone in here is ringing off the hook.
Okay. Well, a call came from Salem, so it just cleared the whole board. I lost it. So-
It's a technology brain.
Everyone on the call should have received a phone call from me just about now. I just got my phone call from me.
So, not to change the subject, but do you have clarity on the mask? Did the governor make his statement? I haven't heard anything.
No, he made the statement that their intent is to allow for masks. Masks have to stay on inside, but outside to allow no masking outside in school settings. But in similar fashion as he has with everything else, it's been public announcement, wait for the guidance, and now we're in the wait for the guidance stage. So that's what that email is.
Oh, okay.
Of course, with the weather the way it is, we're allowing for mask breaks just because it's so hot.
Mhm.
They need some time, just so some common sense to it. We don't need someone having a heat stroke because they're worried about COVID. When they can be 6 feet away from each other and be okay in a well ventilated area or outside. So there you go. You don't have to listen to the phone call now. I just gave you the basics of it.
All right, that's good. Well, I missed the call, so.
So are we okay, Chris, going forward with like doing a general statement? Are you comfortable with that kind of thing? Still breaking it down like that?
Oh yeah, it wasn't that I'm uncomfortable with doing like a general statement for each section. I just know when we started talking about the other sections, it was like we started talking about why do we need to do this, and I feel like the why kind of goes in the intro part, where this would be more like what are the expectations and the commitments we're actually making with each of these things. Like what do we expect for student achievement, and what is the district committing to do versus, like we already talked about why equity and what we need to provide the tools and resources and what our definition is.
So almost in the professional development, you would take that first statement, understanding of equity begins with working towards school culture that knows how to identify and address equity issues. You would put that in the general statement and almost start professional development as all staff will participate and develop. You would almost take that, so you're kind of feeling that first sentence needs to go out of that and become the general part of the general.
Yeah, that I guess that's how I was starting to kind of break it down in my head, but I didn't know if other people were on the same page. So that's more what I was asking. So at the beginning, like when I go back and look at our definition of equity, we have a couple that we had kind of gone through, but like, I feel like we go through, we strive to kind of provide for barrier-free, safe, supportive learning environment, celebrate differences. We understand we need to take action, and we'll provide the training and tools and resources. So I'm thinking from there, it'd be the board has established the following expectations and commitments or something along those lines. And then we would break it down, professional development. This is what the board expects and is committing to do. And then for curriculum and instruction, this is what the expectations are. Like, so that way you're meeting what the intro is. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
That totally makes sense. You said a lot of really great things in there, and I didn't even know when to start typing. Can you kind of go back? I'll throw a bunch in, and then we'll edit it and move it around.
Oh, so all the stuff I just said is on the defining equity page. We've already written all that up.
Right.
So I'm thinking these sections are probably more how we're breaking down what are the expectations and commitments that the district is making in these sections. So I'm just trying, like, as we talk about these sections, I'm just trying to figure out, like,
So
Is
kind of pulling it from that.
pulling it from
that's
that lens
applicable
versus
to
saying,
this
why do we
text.
need to look at this? Because we've already kind of determined we need to look at this and we're going to provide the training, tools, resources, but these are the expectations and what we're committing to do with each of these sections. That's how I started to think of it, but I didn't know if other people are on the same page with the overview of things. Because I had to go through each section and say, why do we need to do this? And then kind of hit the same exact points each time.
So I'm going to try to pull some of the words from that. So I like
So what you're
providing. Go ahead.
what you're typing right now is already under the professional development section.
That phrase is under there.
I believe so. Yeah, all staff will participate in and develop an understanding of identifying. and
Yeah. Yeah, we're just thinking of getting rid of that first sentence and having that first sentence be more of an umbrella sentence that everything else kind of falls under.
I mean, we don't have to get rid of anything. I just, I guess I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Like, are we looking at each section to determine why do we need to look at this? Or are we looking at it more as these are the expectations and what we're committing to do?
I think it's twofold. I think it's a little bit of both. It's kind of like, why are we addressing student achievement? Why are we doing this? I guess that's the question you need to ask. And then underneath it will be some of the things that we want to do to make that happen. So student achievement, why is that important? What do we need to do in order for that to be? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But what does that look
So
like?
something
If
like
that's the question.
students thrive in an equitable environment. And then what kind of, because there's kind of like a lot of different avenues in the student achievement, although it sounds like it's not, it kind of does handle certain things. It handles, you know, almost integrated first. I don't know. I'm trying to look it all over here. I'm trying to see the range. I mean, do you start with like a statement like that, like students thrive in an equitable environment? No, we don't want that, because we don't want it. We want the achievement piece.
If I can throw this out for food or for thought, of our items that we have listed here by category, this is the only one that is an outcome. So when you're looking at professional development, that is a support item, right? We're using professional development to support faculty and staff in this thing we call equity. You look at a curriculum and instruction, that is the product. That is what we're looking to deliver to students or have students learn about and learn from? And what does that look like that students are going to learn from? Skipping to environment, we're talking a little bit about that now. So is what type of environment are they going to learn in? Community involvement is who's going to be a part of it, and the accountability is how will we know, right? That's that question. The achievement piece is the student outcome piece. So we're looking at, what's equitable for students. I think that last bullet is very important. That, that belief that one is capable of completing a task or goal based on one's own ability. Right. And then, that, and the statement usually around this year, and when I talk with folks is about, right, when I talk with kids about this on occasion, is, what's your version of an A? We want all of our kids to be able to excel, but what does that look like for each student? And more recently, you hear it in conversations of CTE versus college. You hear it versus AP courses versus others for about opportunities and access to those pieces. So when we're looking at it, it all falls under what does equity look like for a student to be successful? What is an equitable student achievement? When we take a look at kids, how do we know that each of those kids had everything that they needed in order for them to be their version of success? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Should it be student opportunities instead of achievement if we were talking about structures that we're putting into place and then leave the achievement to be addressed in the accountability, or no?
I think that's a possibility. That was a thought that had crossed my mind, Ian. That's there, because then those questions I just asked about, are they being successful on their terms based on what a student's version of success is, becomes one of those things that we measure against, so when we're looking at opportunities, that now changes it a little though, because then it changes it from outcome to access.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But are the two necessarily separate? Because there's a little bit of access in curriculum too, right?
Yeah.
Because when we talked about the curricular pieces, we talked a bit about, when we talked about the curricular pieces, we talked a bit about, the range of perspectives, voices, and experiences included in the curriculum instructional materials. So it's getting that broader access to more voices was kind of fit with where that expectation was. So that's about an access piece. And the same could fall here under the student achievement. Does every student have the same ability to achieve and what we have to offer at Salem Washington Academy? And then, how do we take that and put it into a paragraph form, recognizing that, in just that discussion, I've touched on some of those other pieces about environment and about curriculum and I didn't talk about professional development so much, because that's teaching teachers how to do that. But the community involvement in this place would be, students, as well as the community. There's other community at large could have some opportunities depending on what approach you chose to take.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's what I was trying to say is I feel like there's a lot of overlap. So I don't know how to break this down. I am so tired today. I'm sorry. I'm still at work because I've just been working nonstop. So I can't talk. I'm talking in circles, but I'm just trying to figure out how to break it all down because I feel like it all overlaps and we're going to talk in circles. So I don't know if there's a better way to outline it and still hit all the same points. But I'm going to stop talking because like I said, my mind is fried.
So, for to say that we have that we have an equitable approach to student achievement. By saying student opportunities, we're saying that students have the opportunity to achieve, right? So they have access to achieve at those things. And we actually say that, I'm trying to highlight Karen's screen. It's not gonna help me any, open doors of opportunity for all students. There it is. We actually talk a little bit there about, opportunities for kids. Here we talk a little bit about an achievement about students being involved in their challenges. It's kind of put in special education language. But special education students too, along with any other, this is about all of our students being able to have access to advanced coursework or to other opportunities. I would be willing to bet that if you look at our AP courses, our special education population would not be very well represented in that group.
Yeah, I agree. I see the perspective that you're coming from. Yeah.
Right. So, and it's,
but they have the ability to access challenging work that's challenging for them. So you're
right.
So I think using the word challenging is appropriate because it can be, as you said, it needs to be student specific. And for some students, making sure that if they have the ability and interest, can access those AP courses. And maybe a special ed student, maybe the CTE program is the most challenging thing that works for them, and making sure that they go through, the process to access those programs. So I think challenging is student specific, and maybe there's some way to indicate that individually challenging, or I'm like Kristen, I'm not really thinking, my vocabulary is just kind of not bouncing around, like it's not coming up the way I want it to. But I mean, to indicate that it's an individual metric, so, so to speak.
But I was saying before, if you scroll up to curriculum and instruction, the last sentence is all willing and academically prepared students will have access to advanced coursework. I mean, so that's not phrased exactly what you were just saying, but that's pretty much the same thing you were just saying.
Yeah, right. That's the curricular side of this. So, it's, so far the curriculum side is everyone is ready, willing, and able can have access to the advanced coursework, whatever that may look like. Right. And give some examples to that. For the achievement is that those kids, when it comes down to like grades, right? Maybe we need to break it. I'll just break it down one more level just to help our brains work. Maybe let's talk grades for a second. Because how often now getting an A is not necessarily achievement. Okay, I'm going to put the little disclaimer up here, the little light blinking. Okay, very broad brush here I'm painting with at the moment. But often, when you talk about a student who is successful, you're talking about the A, right? The 90, the whatever it is. Does every student who takes that course have that opportunity to score that top score?
No.
And if that answer is no, then it's the why not, and we need to address those challenges. If that answer is yes, they have the opportunity to do, or yes, they have they have everything that they need so they can be successful. Then, in my brain, is it an A by the teacher standard, or is it that student's version of an A? Because some students, no matter how hard they work, and algebra 2, B- is the best they're going to do. And that's okay, because for them, that's challenging curriculum. That's them having access and opportunity and getting in, and as long as we, and now the tie-in, Chris, into the next one. Oops, sorry about that. Tie into the next one of, do we set up the environment to allow that to happen?
Mm-hmm. And from a board perspective, including advanced placement in the policy means that we are looking at what is being offered, and that we continue to grow those advanced placement opportunities, for all the students. And then here, as we're talking, Dr. Glover's talking about, is how they access those opportunities. But I can see it as a prong that allows us to make sure that we're putting those opportunities into place.
And that's, I'm just using AP as an example because that tends to be the one that's,
Yeah.
like the A is tends to be the one that's thought of.
But I think the CTE program is highly effective and appropriate for students. My educational background, I did not go to school in New York, so I came through a state that had technology and business. They were all interwoven and they were separate components of the school. So, I see the value in that. Because my paths crossed with those kids as they were doing what they were doing, and I went off and did, what I needed to do. But it was all offered there, and it's all valued. And boy, do I sometimes really want a plumber or an electrician or somebody, I mean, those are very valuable and productive outcomes for students sometimes.
Coming from a dad who's going to watch one graduate from a CTE program in a matter of a week.
Yeah, I see great value in those programs.
Yeah, I think down the road it would be nice to have more of those integrated in. Absolutely. I mean, my brother-in-law was in school in Connecticut, and he was part of the technology program at his high school. So, absolutely.
We have companies calling my school every day trying to get kids to go into some of the trades and machining and plumbing.
Yeah. Okay, so where we stand here on this, I like where Karen's going to access challenging coursework. I still like the idea of having their aspirations known, because I think the self-efficacy, also if it's meaningful to me, if I feel a direct investment in myself, if my coursework, if I'm interested in it, then I will invest more in it, right? So it's something like I have to see myself reflected in my study. In college, obviously you're more excited about it when you get to your education classes, because that's what you're really there for if you're an educator. I really, I think having the kids have more of an investment in their classwork, they are more engaged, and that reflects higher achievement by nature, I think.
So giving students more autonomy.
Mhm. Mhm.
I feel like when I think of equity and student achievement in the lens of equity, it definitely goes along with not making assumptions about a student and holding them back just because you have these assumptions.
Mhm.
I,
Yeah, absolutely.
Providing them the opportunity, making sure they have access to opportunities and that will help them reach their goals and support them however it is needed, versus making assumptions that they are or aren't capable of something.
I think that's a very good point.
yeah, like Karen, we need to find a way to put that in that chunk.
Say that again.
Chris is like, no.
Making my brain overload, I know. I feel you.
So when I think of student achievement as far as equity, I feel like it's more about making sure students have access to opportunities and that they aren't held back because people are assuming they are or aren't capable of something. So making sure that they're provided opportunities that will help support them reach their goals and what their aspirations are, versus basically putting them in a path based on what someone assumes they can or can't do. I don't know how you want to phrase that on there, but
I'm just trying to type some of it out so then we can mess around with it. I was trying to do in the top sentence with the Opportunity to access challenging coursework. And I took that phrase from down underneath that honor student aspirations and long-term goals. Like, we got to make sure that they have access to that. You want to be, an electrician, we got to make sure that we can provide that for you, not tunnel you into, a different kind of a class because that's where we want to put you, or that's the only opportunity we have. We want to talk about providing those opportunities for those kids that have other aspirations. I think we really need to listen to what the kids are looking for as well. I think through a lot of the programs that we use, the CTE and stuff, we're able to do that.
No, I think that's
think
that's
when
a great point.
I was gonna
Sorry.
say, as far as courses, because sometimes students don't always have realistic expectations of what they can do. But when you look at course descriptions or course guides or course programming, that's where you look at some of the prerequisites and say, well, yes, you can do that, but you first have to do this. And sometimes you can help students kind of build up to whatever
Right.
that level is. Versus holding them back and say, no, you're not capable, but like setting forth a path of, well, yes, you can do that, but first you have to complete this, kind of breaking it down. So that way you're not telling them, no, they're not capable, but helping them come up with a path that actually helps them get to their,
Okay.
I just don't think it's ever good to hold back a student or tell them, no, you can't do that, or no, you're not capable of something. But what they may want to do right then, they may need to take other steps to get there, but it doesn't mean they can't get there. But they need to be shown, yes, it is possible, and this is the way you get there. Versus just saying, no, you're not capable of that, or no, that's not a good path for you, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, I like that piece too about planning with them instead of for them. I think that
Right.
aspect too.
That's why I'm looking at this thinking that's what I want to put that in here. Students will help create their own path or, to help them achieve their individual goals.
Yes, I like that. Yeah, because especially when we have more guidance, when we have more school counselors that can be a part of these kids figuring out in 4th and 5th grade their aspirations, they can come into high school feeling pretty solid about things that they want to pursue, instead of coming into high school and feeling like, okay, now what do you have available for me? They can kind of find themselves a little bit too. I like having kids coming into high school having an idea. I like kids going into college having an idea. I think guidance counselors, the counselors, can really help out with that and kind of, have them focused on, instead of having the sheet and saying, okay, these are the classes that are required and you need to make this we need to make this happen. I don't know. I mean, it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of money to have curriculum for some kids available. I think it'll just be part of our growth plan to have more opportunity available to children.
Julie, it's true. There's certainly a financial investment to part of this, but it doesn't cost anything to ask the question, what problem do you want to solve in the world? Or, or the quintessential, what do you want to do when you grow up? So when you walk into that 4-year plan, you walk in with an idea of where you want to head down those 4 years. And then that investment part is making sure that we have the curriculum in place to support the interest and needs of the students. So as they go through their high school experience, is that we're creating that meaningful experience for all students. So when they get to their senior year, we have those opportunities for them outside of school in the areas where they wanted to have them, because we were able to provide them the opportunities while they were with us.
Yeah, I love that. That's perfect, Dr. Glover. Absolutely. Absolutely. All that empowerment, all that self knowledge just empowers students, and they have higher achievement. They have higher achievement. They have their grades, everything else looks better because they're making that investment. Absolutely.
Now, if only you could get rid of the graduation requirements. Just kidding. But
Oh, there's been some conversations.
oh,
We
really?
don't get anywhere, but we, at least, we have some conversations. I
Does
put a model
Salem
forward once through, but it still sits on a coffer somewhere, I'm sure.
Does Salem have any opportunities for students to take courses online through some of the online, like virtual high schools or things like that?
We currently are doing one course that is digital citizenship. It's not an option. It's really part of the old home and careers curriculum about the interpersonal connections and relations and about etiquette and being a good digital citizen. And it's done in a blended manner. That's the only thing that's kind of embedded in our instruction that's there. A bit of it was it started to address some of those challenges, but the other part of it was the idea of starting to pilot a kind of a skills curriculum to teach kids how to learn online. Whoever thought we would need to have a curriculum how to teach kids how to learn online? We just ran out of time when COVID showed up all of a sudden. There are some other opportunities, but it tends to be through credit recovery. Once in a blue moon, we have a course online that's available for a student who gets stuck kind of in the pinch and they're going to be a senior and we don't want to have like a CTE experience prevent them from being able to graduate. We tap into that.
I was more wondering, like, so the high school I work at is in Vermont, so I know the state requirements are different. But we have access to independent study courses through Brigham Young University, and they're all high school courses. We have access to VTVLC, which is Vermont Learning, I forget the acronym, but it's basically a Vermont online high school. But we also use another one called VHS, which is virtual high school, and that's a national virtual one. And we don't use it for required classes so much. We do have a couple students who might do a tech class or health class or something, but for the most part, those are just opportunities for students to explore other electives. Like some kids take sports marketing or they take marine biology or whatever they want. It's more just a way to explore other electives. And is that anything that's allowed in New York or the district has looked at?
It is allowed. We actually use the virtual high school is what we're actually using for the digital citizenship. It's there. We do have access. BOCES does run a couple that we have access to. The challenges tend to, there are allowances in the regulations to allow it to happen. The challenges tend to fall with the labor relations in there and who owns the job type of pieces. And that's, we have some language in our distance learning that limits the district to what I can do. If we were to do something more of those lines, it would be something we would have to negotiate with our teachers unit.
I was just curious, just because with a small district, it is hard to offer a lot of different electives or other areas to explore. And not that students are burned out from being online. I'm sure they are at this point. So, but that's just, I wondered if it was anything the district had looked at all, just because it can open the door to other classes that the school might not be able to offer.
A lot of those advantages right now for us are being taken advantage of through distance learning, sharing courses with other schools. But we tend to originate more than we receive.
Not that that completely relates to equity, but we were talking about supporting different opportunities. So
Yeah, I think that's really good to think outside the box. Know those opportunities that are outside of the box a little bit.
not to sidetrack the conversation.
No, I think it's good.
I can't
do
type
we-
tonight. That's my,
How can we put in that
I
self-efficacy
think-
piece there, Karen?
say again.
How do we put in that self-efficacy piece there?
That's what I'm working on right now.
Okay. That's what I was looking at too.
Oh, and I lost my thought. Focusing. Oh, there we go. Student strengths. What is with me? You can't speak. I can't type. This is great. What a group we are tonight.
That's why there's 5 of us.
It's then
Goodness, can you imagine 8? This would be quite the kerfuffle.
Yeah. I did remember the words I was looking for, educational rigor. I mean, it was just.
Oh, I like that word.
Ooh, that is good.
I knew it was in there somewhere. Took me a while though.
So your brain's slow. You can't talk. I can't type. We're good.
See, we're
Oh,
equitable. We're meeting each other's strengths. There we go.
Because you're on your air conditioner. No, there's some access issues there, Ms. Miley.
There is, Dr. Glover. That is very true. Although the setting of the temperature is 60, but it still feels like it's like blowing 75 out. So I don't know.
That doesn't even roll well.
I would say through focusing on student strengths and with a belief that students are capable of completing a task or goal based on their individual abilities, students will thrive or something like that. Students can excel or thrive
Achieve.
or achieve. Yay! There we go.
If we just get it down and then tweak it, I think we'll be
Yeah,
better off.
that's good.
Found student strengths and a belief that students capable of completing tasks goal based on their students will achieve.
So if we start to look at the bullets, we can maybe take a look at some of those things too. You've got the strengths versus deficits, and just maybe I know what those next 2 were saying. Well, there's the one about in place for disadvantaged, underserved, but the next one, just assure all students learn in the least restrictive environment.
You want to put that up at the top, or you want to keep it as a
No,
bullet?
just to make rather than, kind of explain it out, just state that all students will learn in the least restrictive environment.
Yeah, because that directly reflects achievement as well.
Mm-hmm. Doors of opportunity and outcome for all students. And we sort of worked on that next one, student goals developed with them instead of for them. We reflected on that in the opening paragraph. Is there anything else that we would want to keep?
And the education plans are fine-tuned to honor students' dreams, aspirations. I feel like that was covered as well.
Right.
That out. Discussing student aspirations at early ages. Interest and engagement in school long-term. Educators support student vision and never get in the way or diminish possibilities. I like that. Who are we to decide what is or isn't possible by a student? I like this statement. I kind of like this one quite a bit.
Right.
I almost feel like that should be the bullet.
Right. I think you're right. Because the other part, we've kind of hit on it.
Summarized a little bit.
Right.
We kind of did those. So let's do this. And then we want this?
In the policy, I don't think we would need to have that stated. The who are we to decide?
Okay.
Build self-efficacy.
Or just putting building self-efficacy, because we kind of already put that statement, the second part in, but I like the
Mhm.
build self-efficacy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was a battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we came through in the end.
Yeah.
Did. I think it would be good to have those who aren't here today, like, just sneak a peek at that paragraph and maybe add or subtract a fresh set of eyes on it, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that sounds good, Karen.
No, we did it. So, also, I think we just need to decide, this is our June meeting. And are we going to continue this work through the summer? Are we going to put it off until September? How do people want to proceed?
I'm okay to get together in the summer. I mean, I think we just kind of do what if we just set on a certain time, certain schedule, because I like kind of our momentum. I think it's kind of nice to keep on a course a little bit.
We have 3 more sections in this.
Mm-hmm.
I would continue through the summer. I'm fine with that.
Okay. It's just we've been, what are we, the first Monday, right? Of course, that's probably, are we going to bump right into the 4th of July weekend in July? I don't have a calendar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
July,
so-
July 5th.
So maybe we want to set a different July date?
yeah, that
Or-
will work. Whichever one, because you're more booked with your calendar than I am as far as like meetings and all that.
As long as I write it down in the little square on my calendar, I'm usually pretty good.
Phone.
I mean, we could go a week out from that, maybe do the 12th.
That work for people? We can see who we get and continue. If we have a large group, maybe we can get two sections done. If it's continued to be a small group, we'll just do the one section.
Yeah, I like it. I don't know about everybody else, but I like working together as a group. And I think, if I'm 2 months out over the summer, I'm going to be like, okay, catch me up, where I just feel like I got a good rhythm.
Okay, so unless we hear back from a lot of people, we're looking at July 2nd at 6 o'clock, or July 12th, excuse me, at 6 o'clock. Does that still work for people?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you
have
very
to work.
much.
I might not have to work that day, so maybe I'll be a little bit more mentally.
We'll have our summer brains, Karen. Chris.
I'm not promising anything.
It's my last week of school. It's been crazy. I'm just, yeah.
I have no words.
Yeah, I was gonna say Karen is kind of more blitzed in the summer almost sometimes, but hey.
We made
All
it.
right.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. We did it. We got that whole section done. So
We did.
I still have trouble accessing the equity group on my email. Is there somebody who would be willing to send out an email just to alert people to look at the Google document?
Yes.
That would be appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I'll invite them to just review what we did, make any comments, and I'll let them know about the July 12th.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, thanks, guys. It's always
All right.
nice to have a meeting with you.
Stay cool, Julie.
Hey, I
Good night.
will. You guys too, okay?
Okay.
All
All
right.
right, well,
Bye.